Hey, Daddy, this is the man of the champions, Bill Fonzie Alfonso, giving a shout out to
Something Else.
Something Else, Daddy.
This is Nickel Matara, Great Warrior Wolf, and you are listening to Something Else.
I'm Tony Cini, and you're listening to Something Else.
Hey everybody, it's Rich Palladino, the voice of New England, and you are listening to Something Else with Arya.
Degenerates and reprobates, welcome to episode number 205, Not So Live, of Something Else. Feast your ear holes on this week's episode as we take a look at Mid-South Wrestling and World Class Championship Wrestling from June the 23rd, 1984. My name is Arya, and joining me, as always, is the Bad Bob Owens to my Bad Bob Owens. It's Trae. Trae, how the hell you doing today?
At least I wasn't the Ed Seagle to your Bad Bob Owens.
Let's face facts. Nobody wants to be Ed Seagle. Not even Ed Seagle.
By the way, June 23rd, 1984, my mother's 31st birthday.
Happy recent birthday to your mom. Well, anyway, so we have a show for you today, shockingly enough. But Trae, there's something I needed to talk about here before we get going here on this week's show.
You have the floor.
All right, and please feel free to join in at any point.
Okay.
Now, obviously, this pro wrestling podcast and the other ones we do, we don't really talk about modern day wrestling, mostly because I barely watch it, and Trae's usually a couple weeks behind, as we talked about when we were doing the Double or Nothing thing a few weeks ago. So it's kind of pointless.
Always.
Well, okay, but my point is, it's kind of pointless for us to sit here and talk about modern day wrestling because one of us hasn't watched and the other one can sometimes get a little bit behind. However, there's been some stuff coming up lately that is begging for our opinion, or at least my opinion anyway. As we talked about a few weeks ago when we recorded the show, the day after the Money in the Bank show, where they announced that John Cena was going to wrestle CM Punk for the title in Saudi Arabia. And for the last few weeks, people have been making a big deal about it on social media because Punk one time tweeted The Miz something about go suck a blood money covered dick in Saudi Arabia or some shit like that.
It was pretty much that verbatim.
Yeah. And I guess he also did a podcast interview at some point talking about how he would never wrestle in Saudi Arabia. Well, obviously that didn't happen. And my point for the most part has been pretty much, it's a good thing that nobody else has ever done something that they've said that they were never going to do. I'm not saying anybody's perfect, but at the end of the day, shit happens. I honestly, the only person that ever said they were going to wrestle in Saudi Arabia that had the chance to, that hasn't, to the best of my knowledge, was Bryan Danielson. Because like the other people, I'm gonna bet Gallows and Anderson may have actually been there during their recent return. But you get a lot of the people who's like, oh, we're never gonna go again. John Cena said he was never gonna go again. Remember, he had to get replaced in the tournament that Shane McMahon won because he was never going to go to Saudi Arabia again because he didn't want it to hurt his chances in Hollywood with his acting career. Well, not only was CM Punk in that match with John Cena, but so was John Cena. Anyway, so a few days ago, Josh Nason on the F4W website posted an article about Punk going to Saudi Arabia. Now, Josh is somebody that I've worked with for like a decade or so. When, I was a regular contributor to the Observer website. Josh came in around 2015 or 2016 and was pretty much put in charge of all of the writing staff. I don't know the exact power dynamic, but basically, he was the guy that I sent everything I ever wrote to, and he edited and, posted shit. So, forgive me if I don't know everyone's exact, job title, but basically that's how it went. I would send it to Josh and Josh would post it. So, Josh wrote an article a few days ago, which you can still find on f4wonline.com right now. Column CM Punk's new brand of authenticity emerges in Saudi Arabia. Now, here's the thing. I am fully aware, I'm fully aware that the number of writers slash reporters who are still CM Punk fans are pretty fucking low. In fact, I dare say of people affiliated with the Observer website, I'm probably I'm probably not alone, but there's not a whole lot of people joining me still in the CM Punk fandom. You know, uh if reading other people's thoughts, is the same. Now, this is not a defense of anything CM Punk has said or done. This is not a, oh, I'm taking up for CM Punk or whatever, because CM Punk does not need me to stick up for him. I think we all know by now that if CM Punk gave a shit, he would say something. My issue with this was not the, CM Punk went to Saudi Arabia thing. My thing was more towards the bottom of his article. Now, Josh did a pretty good job of basically bringing up everything Punk had said in regard to Saudi Arabia over the years and brought up the awkwardness of how he basically had to walk it back last week because the fans were booing him over that tweet from a few years ago. Anyway, so Josh said, and I'm trying to find it now. So let's hear. So in the aftermath, Punk loyalists have to ask. Also, I'm sorry. Punk loyalists also have to question whether he will flip on other social issues in the future that he has proudly supported on TV, like the Chicago Teachers Union, trans rights, abortion rights, etc. You might read that and say, of course he would never turn his back on those causes. He believes in them. But would you have said the same thing in January 2020? That's the point. He's lost the benefit of the doubt. Don't worry, though, he might change his mind. Just give him 6 years. Now, I'm sorry, Josh. I get what you're trying to say. I get it. I understand what you're trying to say. However, I'm sorry. That's a little bit of bullshit if you ask me. And Trey, please chime in if you disagree, or hell if you agree, whatever. But my thought is it's like it's not the same fucking thing. You know, everyone, is entitled to their own opinion, and everyone's entitled to do what they like. Now, CM Punk, I'm sure Triple H should not hold a gun to anybody's head and say, you need to go to Saudi Arabia and wrestle on this show. I get that. At the same fucking time, this is the same CM Punk who was sued by WWE. This is the same CM Punk who went on AEW television and announced that he's finally returned to professional wrestling. And this is, every fucking thing else. But at the same time, this isn't, fucking where he's going to wrestle a match, and you're going to say it's like, oh, CM Punk is going to turn his back on the Chicago Teachers Union. CM Punk is going to turn his back on trans people, on people having abortion rights. It's like, dude, come on. Like, I, I don't know. I'm kind of at a loss at this point, but it's not a fucking fair comparison. Trey, save me here because I'm
Yeah.
drowning.
Uh, I agree that it's not a good comparison. And I don't know. It's like, look, only he knows whether he compromised his values by doing this. Maybe what he said was true, and he was just in a bad mood one morning. Hey, if I had $1 for every time I tweeted something shitty because I was in a bad mood and regretted it, I would have CM Punk money. So maybe.
That's a
And I
lot of
don't,
bad tweets.
it is. It is. It sure is. But I don't know. I don't think that that's a good comparison. I don't think that I don't know. Like I wasn't surprised. I wasn't surprised that this happened. And once you realize that you can never trust anything a pro wrestler says, you will never be disappointed. There's a mild chance that you might be pleasantly surprised at some point. But whatever a pro wrestler says, just take it with a grain of salt because circumstances are going to change, money's going to change. I don't know.
Hmm.
Well, I don't know. Sometimes circumstances change, and if you change your mind because the circumstances change, that's not being hypocritical. But I don't know. Maybe he is. Maybe he just so needed validation after the aborted AEW run that he's gonna fucking compromise his values and go to Saudi. But then, like, why didn't he go the first time, the other time that he was not injured and they went to Saudi and they did an injury angle to take him out for a cycle? I don't know
Yeah,
why not then, but why now? But like it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, and I don't care. Whatever. It's whatever.
there we go.
And
Um, but
I do want to say one thing before anybody comes at us with would Brian Danielson did go to Saudi Arabia. That was the first time. That was 6 months before the assassination of Jamal Khashoggi. He
but
never went to Saudi Arabia after that.
I apologize if I didn't elaborate on that more. I mean, like after the Jamal Khashoggi thing, you had a lot of people say that they weren't going to go to Saudi Arabia. Some
Yeah.
weren't as vocal as Punk, but I mean, like Kevin Owens was never going to go to Saudi Arabia. Mind you, his was more wrapped around Sami Zayn not being allowed to go. And at this point, I think the only person still not allowed to go is Aleister Black because of all of his
Hmm.
tattoos. But that's basically what I meant, and that after that, the only person left who said they were never going to go, who hasn't gone, is Danielson. But
Yeah.
at least part of that too is also, he was gone by the time they started going back to Saudi Arabia after the pandemic. So who knows if he would have stuck with that? It's impossible to say.
Yeah.
Um,
And and just to take this in a completely different direction, that that 50-man Royal Rumble match, the first time they went to Saudi Arabia, I think people kind of shat on, and it's for the reasons and whatever. I kind of have a soft spot for that match, and it is exactly because of Bryan Danielson, because that was like right after he was able to come back after he had had to
yeah,
retire for like 3 years, and he
it was like
came
his
in
second
number
match.
one. He came out there number one. He stayed out there for over an hour. That motherfucker looked so happy. Just
It
out
was
there
like
wrestling for an hour.
it was like 75 minutes he was out there for. Because he was the first
Yeah.
one in, and the last three were him, Braun Strowman, and Big Cass.
Yeah.
And he got dumped by Cass, who then got dumped by Strowman. Um,
Yeah, because I had forgotten about this until I rewatched that Rumble match the other day. I just put it on for background noise. I had forgotten that Brian's first feud when he came back was with Big Cass.
yes, like that, and poor Big Cass. I don't forget exactly when he got let go, but he didn't last much longer than that Bryan
Yeah.
Danielson feud.
But I want to say, having seen him in AEW the last year or two, Big Bill fucking he got good.
He was. he was not bad when he was in TNA either for that run as W. Morrissey.
Yeah, no, he wasn't bad there either.
Yeah. And hey, he definitely has improved his reputation from, especially like his post WWE run. Like, didn't he have a lot of drug issues too? And that awful
I think so.
work shoot angle they did with him and Enzo at Madison Square Garden, which by the way
Oh,
was so bad that like me sitting up in the section 200 or whatever, I didn't even know what the hell was happening because like they didn't put it up on the big screen at all.
to my understanding, that was a big dent in the relationship between Ring of Honor and New Japan. New Japan was not happy about that stunt.
No, no. And you could tell that I don't even think they ever came in for a shot.
They didn't. They did
Yeah.
nothing with it.
Yeah. All right, so let's go to Mid-South Wrestling, June 23rd, 1984. We're going to go to an intro with JR, and it's a bit lengthy because we're going to go from that to a Dr. Death and Terry Taylor interview with Bill Watts. Let's go to that now.
And welcome to another exciting hour of Mid-South Wrestling. I'm Jim Ross, and along with Cowboy Bill Watts and Boyd Pierce, we'll be bringing you all the action this hour. And a lot of exciting things are going to happen in the next 60 minutes. Some exciting matches, including Big Ernie Ladd returns to the Mid-South. He'll be in a handicap tag team match. Also, the arrogant Nature Boy Buddy Landell will make an appearance. A new team called the Fantastics will be here. Tommy Rogers and Bobby Fulton, an excellent team. They'll be making their first live appearance here today on Mid-South Wrestling. We also have an awesome six-man tag team match. One side will have the Rock and Roll Express and Hacksaw Jim Duggan going against Krusher Kruschev, Barry Orton, and Pat Rose. Also a girls' bout today. A lot of exciting things, and to start things off, let's go to the president of Mid-South Sports, Cowboy Bill Watts, and a very special interview with Steve Dr. Death Williams and the new TV champion, Terry Taylor.
Saturday, June the 16th, in the Louisiana Superdome, we had another great spectacular. And as usual, there was a lot of tremendous, exciting events. A lot of things happened. Right here to my left, Terry Taylor defeated Krusher Kruschev for the Mid-South television title. And I know the fans were ecstatic. And Terry, of course, you've been on a quest for that a long time. It looked like you'd won it right here on the Mid-South original tournament. But Butch Reed played a heavy part in you not winning it. And finally you got the man and you beat him in the Superdome.
I tell you, it was a long, hard road to go, and I just appreciate all the fan support. It was all worth it, everything that happened. I'm just glad that now I am the TV champion.
Well, I know, Doc, that there's no love lost between you and the Russians. And, of course, Khrushchev was a little bit upset. You'd whipped him up here on television and taken the medal away from him and challenged him to get it. So I know you were really proud of Terry.
Yeah, I was really proud of Terry to beat that Russian. You know, I don't like Russians at all.
Well, you know, one thing at the Superdome, Doc, Louis Obrey, a former All-American at Oklahoma University. Wait a minute. Come on, buddy. Back off.
Say, Bill Watts, this is my territory, too.
Wait,
I work here.
somebody get down and get this
I
idiot.
just got a few things to say, and I'll be right out of the way. Let me tell you something. I was in the Superdome, and I beat Sonny King like a dog. Everybody saw it. I beat Sonny King like a dog. And then I went down and cheer on my good buddy, Hacksaw Butch Reed, and Sonny King. And the Junkyard Dog embarrassed me in front of everybody in the Superdome and everybody in Louisiana. They tar and feathered me. That humiliated me. Go ahead, get your laughs now. But I'm going to make a challenge right now on nationwide TV, the Junkyard Dog, right now in front of millions of people that are watching right now. Junkyard Dog, I'm challenging you to a match on TV today. Now, I've checked the sheets. Mid-South Sport is trying to hold me back. I've got Tony Torres, and everybody here knows I can beat Tony Torres in a matter of seconds. Mid-South Sports is trying to hold me back. Junkyard Dog, I've challenged you in front of millions of people. The ball's in your court. Do with it what you want to do. But I'll be in this ring later on in the station hour. Let's get it on.
Well, you need to see Grizzly Smith about that. Get him out of here. Get him out of here. I guess he did get embarrassed a little bit. Again, as we were talking, Louis Obrey, who was an All-American tackle at the University of Oklahoma when you were there, and is now for the Saints an offensive tackle, and Marcus Dupree of the USFL team, both of them came to the dressing room there at the Superdome. They were in attendance. They love wrestling, and they came to say hi to you and the Junkyard Dog.
Yeah, I'll tell you, there's a great football player right there. I played beside Louis Oubre, and I've opened plenty of holes for Marcus Dupree.
Okay, right now we're going to relive the final moments of that great Mid-South television title bout Saturday, September the 16th in the Superdome. Terry Taylor versus Krusher Kruschev.
All right, Trey. So we got some big news. We have a new champion of television.
What the fuck? They're doing this just to piss me off, aren't they?
After the 11-week-long tournament for a medal and $10,000. Yeah, Krusher Khrushchev did not get a very, I don't think he get a long title run. I mean, he had the belt about 3 months, but he did not really defend the belt much.
He defended it one time on television. It was like the week after, and he lost to Duggan by DQ. He's not defended it on TV since, and now it has changed hands at a house show.
Yes. Well, at the very least, it's a big house show. It's,
Yeah.
it's like,
by
they
the way,
changed it in East Bumfuck, Arkansas.
hey, I have family in East Bumfuck, Arkansas. I have,
I apologize. I didn't mean to disparage the greatness of East Bumfuck, Arkansas. Anyway, by the way, as you were about to say.
Oh, just because this came up yesterday as we're recording, yes, this is what a house show is. A show that is broadcast on live television in another country, but not on the internet where you can see it as this country, is not a house show.
You have an issue with the reporting of the New Japan show?
Yeah, just that. I mean, I'm not saying it was a good decision or not. It was a questionable booking choice. I'm not agreeing or disagreeing with it. I'm just saying it wasn't a fucking house show.
Yeah. Yeah, it was not a house show. Like, I don't know. Like, it's this isn't even an argument that I've seen anyone make anyway, because mind you, I don't care enough to go see what other people think sometimes. But it's like I could see somebody arguing back. Well, you see, Trey, back in the 1980s, the WWF would air the MSG house shows on the MSG network. So is that not still a house show? And I would argue it is still a house show, even though it's televised, because it's still only televised in that one market. The show in Japan on Sunday, it wasn't just televised in that local market. It was televised across the entire country.
Right. It was on TV Asahi Channel 2, which is like the satellite channel.
Okay.
So it wasn't like on network TV. It was a satellite broadcast. But yes, it was all over Japan.
Yes. I hear it was quite the show.
I haven't watched it yet. I did have a copy of it before the day was out yesterday, but as you teased me earlier, I am a little behind right now, but I will get to it before the end of the week.
We'll say that in 3 weeks from now. You're like, hey, I just saw that New Japan show. Like, oh, great. What do you think about Tanahashi's match?
Yeah, I'll see it. I've been very preoccupied. I have a new kitten, and also I've been finally. You remember I moved like 2 months ago?
Yes,
I finally have determined that boxes aren't gonna unpack themselves. So I've been trying to do some of that. So yeah. And as you and I have discussed at great length in our private DMs, I've gotten really deep into this pro wrestling sim save.
Yes. And I gotta say, I've been playing that a bit too, because yes, I went ahead and bought it on Steam last week. So anyway, today we're gonna have the return of Ernie Ladd, which, spoiler, he looked a lot better here than he did the last time he was on the show. I mean, he's still an older gentleman, obviously.
Yeah.
But, at the end of his first run, or his last run anyway, in the ring, it was like, okay, this is getting a little embarrassing here.
Yeah.
And then we got a 6-man tag. And I'll be honest, I didn't know where we were going with the heel team because they were like the Rock and Roll Express and Jim Duggan. I'm like, okay, that's a good team. Versus Krusher Kruschev, like, okay, he's a push name, the former champion of television. He's still a pretty pushed guy. Pat Rose and Barry Orton. I'm like, all right, we took a bit of a nosedive at that point, didn't we?
Hey, Pat Rose is a journeyman wrestler. He is everywhere and every time and every place.
Indeed, he is. Indeed, he is. Um. Anyway. Here's a question. Did you think Dr. Death looked like Rick Steiner at all?
Yeah, I did. I did think that. I was a little. In fact, it's worse than that. I'm looking here at the main page of my media server, and every episode has a little like thumbnail. And earlier today, before I watched the episode, I thought that was a thumbnail of Bill Watts interviewing Jerry Lawler.
He definitely has the Jerry Lawler haircut.
I was confused. Yeah. Well, okay, I'm sorry. Did we play the part after they play the match yet?
No, not yet. But anyway,
Okay, I'm sorry.
Buddy Landell got tarred and feathered at the Superdome, and now he wants to wrestle Junkyard Dog today. And Dr. Death's entire contribution to this promo was that he played football with a couple guys who were at the Superdome. So from there, we went back to the Superdome to watch Krusher Kruschev lose the television title to Terry Taylor. This is another one of those videos where the crowd volume was turned up so high you couldn't hear Watts do commentary, and Taylor won with a bridging German suplex. The crowd was really, really into this.
I'm going to be very pedantic here because that's what I do here on this podcast.
It was not a German suplex. It was like a back suplex.
I would call that a low angle backdrop suplex.
Okay. I'm not going to argue with you here.
Okay. Good enough.
Let's go to after we went back to Terry Taylor and Dr. Death and Bill Watts, and they have something else to say.
A great victory, Terry, and I join with everybody in congratulating you. That's your first really major title in the Mid-South area.
That's true. I feel great about winning the title, and especially for the people here that have been behind me so long. The road has been long and hard, and I'm telling you right now, I know that it's going to get harder and tougher from now on. It was tough getting there, but keeping it is going to be tough. Wait, by the way, Doc, you got my medal, brother?
Oh, wow, Terry, I forgot to even bring it. I left it in my bag.
Well, as long as I get it, that's okay, because I'm still in the champion one way or the other.
That's right. You're the champion, and congratulations. And
thank you.
I'm sure Doc will have the medal for you soon. We'll be back after these words from the Mid-South sponsors.
So, Trouble in Paradise, you think?
Okay, this is not a spoiler because I don't know. I don't know where anything is going, but when I saw this segment, my brain immediately said Doc is turning heel.
Yeah, I thought this exact same thing. It's, maybe it's not really obvious, but it seems obvious that Doc is turning heel from here.
Yeah, and it seems like I'm sorry, go ahead.
Mm-hmm. I was gonna say I know he ends up in a team with Ted DiBiase as the new Rat Pack, so it's like I know that's coming up at some point.
Yeah, and it seems, I don't know, it seems like they didn't really try to do anything with him as a babyface yet, but on the other hand, I see if you don't want to send him to another territory, if you want to keep him here and bring him along, he needs a heel run right now to develop his personality.
Pretty much. Like, I think we're done with his football career, I believe. I think he's, full time now as a wrestler, moving forward.
Yeah.
And and I mean that's a good thing because, as we talk about, when we're reading those old editions of The Observer in 83, 84, Dave was not a fan of Dr. Death. And, and of course Dr. Death ends up being like, a really great wrestler. and really quickly too. So, it's a good thing, at least for our sake, that his football career just did not pan out very well. And um, let me see here. Yeah, it's like I'm looking at his match results from '85. He goes nowhere near the USFL, and they're going to be dead in '86. So yeah, Dr. Death is officially a professional wrestler full time now.
And what a fine one he will become.
Yes, and it's funny because looking at some of the results in '85, it's like there's nobody here that you'll be surprised to see wrestling. Maybe Brad Armstrong, but spoiler, Brad Armstrong is going to be here.
He was here a week or two ago on tape from Tulsa.
Now he's going to be here in real life, live and in color, if you will, without the crowd volume turned up way too loud so you can't hear Bill Watts.
Brad Armstrong, known for his colorful personality.
Indeed. Backstage, anyway. Do you remember, and I think we talked about this, do you remember when they tried to put him on ECW, the WWE version of ECW, as a color commentator, and Styles and Taz were so pissed off that they basically buried him on the air?
I don't remember this.
It was like 2007, I think. It was like they would bring him out. They'd bring him out for like one match, and it's like it like just became like a joke because you can be the dumbest fan of the world and see that Styles and Taz are just blatantly ripping on him because they didn't want him as part of the team.
It's weird how like guys like Brad Armstrong and Dean Malenko are like apparently like the funniest motherfuckers in the world backstage, and then that just never translated to the screen.
I heard a rumor once that they did try out Dean Malenko for commentary just to see if maybe it would fit, and it's like it was really not a fit. Actually, do you remember? Well, of course, Mr. Regal was a commentator for a while, but I remember when he started as a commentator, like I don't want to say he was bad, but he was very, very quiet. Like, in the not good kinds of quiet either.
Yeah. When like the early NXT, was that the first time he did commentary?
Yeah. Like, honestly, I think it was NXT season 4 was when he debuted as a commentator.
Rough start, huh?
Indeed. But hey, he ended up being one of the best commentators they had.
Yeah. And Regal,
anyway,
Regal, not known for a lack of personality in the ring. By the way, he's always had incredible personality, incredible facials. His disgusted face is like world class.
Yes, indeed. And any new wrestler out there could learn so much by watching William Regal tapes.
100%.
So from here, by the way, we saw highlights of the Midnight Express versus the Rock and Roll Express in the Superdome, where Jim Cornette was handcuffed to Jim Duggan at ringside. And they honestly showed, I don't know, 3-4 minutes just of Cornette getting handcuffed to Duggan. And it was hilarious. It was fucking hilarious. Because, like, Duggan, the most animated person in the world, he gets handcuffed to Cornette and he sticks his thumb out, but he sticks it out with a hand that's a handcuff to Cornette. So Cornette's arm goes flying up in the air with it. And it was just fucking great.
It was so funny because they showed like several minutes of the pre-match stuff, and then they cut to pretty much the finish of the match.
I mean, I don't want to say when you see one Midnight Rock and Roll match, you've seen every Midnight Rock and Roll match, but let's be honest, I was happier that I saw the extra pre-match shenanigans.
Yes, the beginning and the end were the key things.
Yes. So they're handcuffed to one another when suddenly a woman who may or may not have been flirting with Jim Duggan suddenly begins spraying a towel over the barricade. And it turns out it's Wendy Richter. Yes, that Wendy
Indeed.
Richter, who has got the ether bunny somehow, and she used it on Jim Duggan. And then somehow, and I honestly, I should have rewound just to see it because I didn't even really notice, but they said Condrey pinned one of the Rock and Rolls with a Lotus tennis racket.
I thought that Dennis hit, I think, Ricky with the tennis racket and Eaton pinned him, but it was hard to see, but it doesn't matter that much.
Yeah. The Midnights are still your Mid-South Wrestling Tag Team Champions.
Oh, are they?
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I forgot they won them back.
Yeah. Can we officially say that this Super Day to the Superdome was I would say colossal failure, but we got the video of the winners of the Super Day to the Superdome, and it was like the most ridiculous thing you've ever seen, and not in a good way. It's like, oh, here's Ricky and Robert like grooving with these two girls, and here's Ricky and Robert talking to each other in a restaurant while the girls are sitting next to them, not even really paying attention to them. We're told that Jim Ross has chaperoned their dates with his wife. And honestly, I didn't even know Jim Ross had been married before Jan. So I was honestly a little surprised by that. But yeah, we did not see anything and any of the good shenanigans that I'm sure happened afterwards in the room that required us to have single unmarried women only enter this contest.
Hey, the one that was with Ricky was cute. Not that the other one wasn't. I just got a really good look at the other one's face. But anyway, Robert Gibson's mustache was like the 7th most ridiculous thing in this video. By the way, the sixth most ridiculous thing was Ricky's mustache because he's blonde, so you can't even fucking see it. Like this is the first time I noticed it because the camera was right in his face. Big year for mustaches, 1984, apparently.
And I'm more like, okay, and I'm not saying these two women were not attractive, but were these really the two most attractive women who tried to win this contest?
Well, we don't know who was looking or what criteria that they were using.
I'm sure Mika, Joel, and Eric were using nothing but the strictest of criteria. I'd like to know what they did with all the pictures of the losers too.
They're in a shoebox under Eric's bed.
All right, we then go to our first match in the Irish Forgill Boys Club. It's Wendy Richter versus Velvet McIntyre. And yes, this is a battle between two people who will challenge for the WWF Women's title at the first two WrestleManias. Now,
yes, it is.
You might recall the last couple of weeks we were told that the ladies tag team champions were going to be here on this week's show. Well, Velvel is one half of the ladies tag team champions. So that's what we're going to get this week instead of the champions themselves being in action. And the good news for Velvet is that she did not bust a strap here. The bad news is Wendy beat her with a leg drop anyway.
The champions are Velvet McIntyre and Princess Victoria, right?
Yes. And because they announced later that Wendy Richter next week is going to wrestle Princess Victoria.
Yeah, okay, they did announce that. Okay. Yeah, so I thought this, like, Richter and McIntyre are, like, two of the better wrestlers in that troupe. So this was pretty decent. Wendy Richter winning with a leg drop is very funny considering what's in her very near future.
30 days from today. Today's June 23rd. July 23rd, she defeats the Fabulous Moolah in Madison Square Garden for the WWF Women's title.
Wendy Richter, she's a beautiful woman, but very specifically, she is 80s hot. Like she's like an 80s
Oh yeah.
kid. Like you look at her and see why Vince McMahon looked at her and thought that was going to be his female Hulk Hogan. She looks the part.
God damn it, pal.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, maybe it's because I've kind of got a thing for redheads, but I prefer Velvet McIntyre myself.
Redheads are wonderful. They're exotic, but a good brunette, you just can't beat it. And by the way,
Oh yeah.
Wendy Richter, if you're listening, and I don't know why you wouldn't be, uh, come fucking do an angle with Timeless Tony Storm. You'll love it. It'd be great.
It's like Wendy Richter's like, and I know this is obvious because it's in 1984. Wendy Richter's got the big 80s hair,
Yes, he does.
you know. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
by the way, since this is now June 23rd, 1984, you know what else we're a month away from? Actually, 3 weeks away from Black Saturday.
Oh. Oh yeah. Wow.
Yes. Are you worried that Vince is going to buy our podcast and replace us with I don't know who the Freddie Miller and Gorilla Monsoon would be of WWE right now, but I
Look, if it leads to me getting to tell Linda McMahon fuck Linda and fuck you to her face, I'll sell the podcast.
oh Lord, I like that. Do you think you have a percentage points in the podcast? You can sell it anyway.
I will sell 50% of the Oh My God cast.
There you go. We then get a 2-on-1 handicap match. Ernie Ladd returning against Mark Rajan and Greg Brown. Poor Mark Rajan. He's really taking a dip in popularity. Not in popularity, I guess. He's taking a dip in push. The poor bastard. 1 week he got a push. It's like
Oh,
he got
world should.
he got slightly more than what's his name who played a little football. Since at
I
least
think that I think
Mark Rajan won a match.
I think that one promo was Tom Lentz's whole push.
Yes. Oh
Oh,
my God, that was November. Jesus Christ.
jeez.
Oh
Ernie
Lord.
Ladd throwing these dudes around was pretty entertaining.
Indeed, Ernie Ladd is 6'9", and you can't teach that. And his
You
feet
sure
cover
can't.
the ground they walk on. And then Ernie pinned Mark Rajan's partner, Greg Brown, with a leg drop. I'm starting to see a pattern here, Trey.
And then Ernie Ladd walked back to the dressing room and he had to brush by the people who were standing there to come out for the next match. And he said, "Get out of my way, fat Dasso."
Fat Dasso, come sit under the
I just
learning
wanted
tree.
I just wanted to say fat Dasso.
Bundy just dumbed himself out of position. Oh
Oh.
Lord, who doesn't love Ernie Ladd? By the way, this was Ernie Ladd's first match on TV, in Mid South TV since July of '82, where he was
Oh
a
wow.
babyface teaming with the Junkyard Dog, which we'll get to in a second, and they defeated Ricky Hangman Harris, the future Black Bart, and the Assassin.
That was after the Samoans turned on him, right? He turned
Oh yeah,
babyface.
the Samoans were in January of '82 because
Yeah.
I love that storyline because it was like he's there, he's ranting and raving to Boyd, and Bill Watts is like, "Hey, what's General Skander Akbar doing with the Samoans?" And it was like, Ernie's like, "Those are my Samoans," and then they
Ugh,
kicked his ass.
they sure did.
But by the way, just because we have to plug the guy with the greatest name in wrestling, the week before that, Ernie Ladd teamed with Buckley Christopher George Robley III to defeat Bob Roop and Ricky Harris. Oh my God.
Buckley Christopher George Robley III.
No one ever explained why Reeser would call him that. Like his name was Colonel Buck Robley, and it's like I guess in different territories he was Buckley Christopher and George Robley, and for some reason Reeser just decided in this territory he must be Buckley Christopher George Robley III.
That's funny. That's funny.
Yes. Unfortunately, Buckley is out of the territory, and at this point, I'm starting to think so is Reeser.
Yeah, where the fuck has he been?
I don't fucking know. By the way, Buckley's in Florida, in case anyone cares.
I didn't even notice. I didn't even notice who was ring announcing this week. Was it Boyd?
It was Boyd and his fantastically blue suit.
Bring back Murray Frank.
That he might be a one and doneer.
Oh, that's a shame. He was great.
So we get our 6-man tag next. The Rock and Roll Express and Jim Duggan versus Krusher Kruschev, Barry Orton, and Pat Rose. And we talk about Mark Rajan, but Krusher Krushev's push sure has dropped since Volkov left. Because it's like he's not really getting promo time. He got schooled by Dr. Death last week. He lost the championship of television. And now he's teaming with two J-Brones.
Yeah, this was not a good look. How much longer is he here?
I don't think very long, but talk about this match, because this was a fun little match.
They only went 3 minutes, but it was a hell of a fun 3 minutes. Like as far as the job squad, like they had the guys who could fucking work. Barry Orton, Pat Rose, like the better workers among that crew. And the Rock and Roll and Duggan did some really neat like triple team spots, including like I think at the end, Ricky and Robert whipped Barry Orton toward the corner, and Duggan came off with a diving shoulder block that looked like it just fucking killed him. Like they went 3 minutes and 5 seconds, but it was a hell of a 3 minutes. Like this was all action. Very, very fun little match here.
I just saw what Krusher Krushev's last Mid-South match is going to be. At least his last TV match. So he's gonna be leaving. His last match is at the end of August, and it'll play the first week of September, I'm sure. He teams with Ernie Ladd, and they lose to Terry Taylor and Terry Taylor's partner, I swear to God, John Mantell.
Oh, that's a rib on us.
We are seriously gonna get John Mantell in multiple territories at the same time.
Watch him show up on Smoky Mountain that week too.
Yeah, oh my God, it's not even just a one-off. He is in Mid-South. Actually, well, he's in All Japan right now for that random ass All Japan tour he does. But he comes back in August in Mid-South. And let me see, because I guess the good news is, good being a relative term, he is not bouncing between the two territories at the same time. He's here until November, and then he goes back to World Class. So, yeah, we're never getting away from John Mantell. By the way, John Mantell's second match back in World Class, going to a 10-minute time limit draw with Kelly Kiniski in the Sportatorium.
Arya, you know what started last week last week from the week of the shows that we're watching? Do you know what started?
From June 16th of 84?
Yes.
I don't know.
Power Pro Wrestling.
Ah,
the Mid-South
okay.
B show.
Yep.
We can always watch that instead of World Class.
I don't know. I think that might be too much Mid-South. Um, by the way, so the good news is Johnny Mantell does not appear to come anywhere near Smoky Mountain, although he is wrestling into the mid 90s. So he defeats
When he,
John Hawk by countout. So I guess the good news is that come the mid 90s, he finally learns how to either win or lose matches.
you know what? I bet if Johnny had waited to Christmas '95, he would have got a spot in Smoky Mountain too.
That's probably what that match was for, you know. Winner gets to go to Smoky Mountain in Christmas '95. Um, but by the way,
Yeah.
did you notice that when Orton went to the top rope for a knee drop to Morton, instead of pulling Morton out of the way, Duggan just laid on top of Morton and took the knee drop?
Because he's Hacksaw Jim Duggan. He's a very tough man.
All right, well, let's go to Boyd's intro of our next match.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is one fall or 10-minute time limit match. Nature Boy Buddy Landell versus Tony Torres. However, the only one in the ring from California, Nature Boy Buddy Landell. There have been accusations made and challenges hurled. We'll have to wait and see who comes.
Accusations made and challenges hurled. You gotta love Boyd Pierce. Oh, Lord. There will never be, like, you know, and we talk about this, there will never be people on TV allowed to have personality like this ever again. And that fucking
And
sucked.
and the business is poorer for it.
Yes. So Buddy Landell challenged Junkyard Dog earlier, even though he's supposed to wrestle Tony Torres. And I hope Tony Torres got his per diem money because Junkyard Dog came out. Not even purchased the contract. Junkyard Dog just came out for the match. Um, and I'll tell you what, Dog looked pissed. And I think it's because Dog was ready for a day off, and now he had to wrestle on his day off. He slammed his chain down in the ring to start the match. Butch Reed came out for immoral support. Reed tripped Dog. Buddy goes for the corkscrew elbow, but Junkyard Dog kicks out. Reed gets up on the apron. Landell rolls up Dog, but Dog kicks him off into Reed, and he gets the pin. After the match, Ernie Ladd ran in. Now, I was convinced when Ernie Ladd ran down, it was going to be a swerve and that he was going to take out Butch Reed and Buddy Landell and stand tall with the Junkyard Dog. But nope. Instead, Sonny King ran down and the heels bailed with no further contact.
That is what happened. Dog smacked the shit out of Reed on those spots.
I think Butch is starting to call New York, or Dog is starting to call New York to try to see if there's a spot open for him.
It's soon, isn't it?
What was that?
It's soon, isn't it?
Like 6 weeks.
Oh, I didn't. Oh, yeah. Wow. I was thinking, yeah, for the end of the summer. Yeah.
August of 84.
And it'll never be the same.
Nope. Then we go to our next black man. Next up in order. All right. So we've talked about Hacksaw Higgins on this show and how once upon a time he had a match with Paul Orndorff where he fucked up everything. He fucked up running the ropes. He fucked up Paul Orndorff's finish. He kicked out at 3.1. Paul Orndorff beat his ass. And this was a winner leaves town match for Paul Orndorff, too. We got a man who could challenge Larry Higgins. Although this man was smart enough to not kick out at 3.1. Ed Seagle.
Oh my God.
Ed Seagle was here for his debut and hopefully his last match ever, where he teamed with Bad Bob Owens to take on the Fantastic. Now, for our Smoky Mountain fans who might remember the Smoky Mountain Fantastics, This is, in fact, Bobby Fulton and Tommy Rogers, not Bobby and Jackie Fulton.
This is the real Fantastics.
Yes, not Fantastics 2.0.
By
So
the way,
Bad Bob
Arya,
Owen, Trey.
I have some bad news. Next week, it's
Ed Siegel's gonna
Ernie
wrestle
Ladd.
again.
It's Ernie Ladd versus Bob Owens and Ed Siegel.
Is that really bad news, or is it something to look forward to?
It may be great. It may be great. Okay, I'm gonna.
Maybe we need to hire Wade Barrett to come out in like a 30-foot scissor lift and start banging his gavel.
Yeah, there you go. By the way, Fantastics out to Sharp Dressed Man by ZZ Top. Arya, do you know what world class tag team used a Japanese cover of Sharp Dressed Man?
A Japanese cover of Sharp Dressed Man.
Mm-hmm. Or
was it the Fantastics?
I don't know what they used in All Japan, but no.
Oh, you're talking. Didn't you say? Oh, okay. You mean a world class tag team in All Japan, or a world class tag team in World Class?
A world class tag team
in World Class Championship Wrestling.
I did not say.
I think that's okay. Well, that's the issue. When you say world class, I'm thinking like Harry and Kevin Von Erich. I don't know. Johnny Ace and Mike Barton.
The answer is Jado and Gato. Who the joke is, and this is kind of a deep cut. They never had like a formal team name outside of Jado and Gato, but one of the nicknames by which their tag team was known was World Class Tag Team.
Fuck you. We are Jado and Gato.
Yes.
See, I figured Johnny Ace was a part of it because, Mrs. Baba loves her big, tall, blonde guy Gene who looks good in a nice suit and says yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am, and that's Johnny Ace to a T.
One of my favorite shoot interview moments ever was I think Sean Oliver asked Kevin Nash. A lot of people say Johnny Ace is the Antichrist, and Nash like immediately, completely deadpan, just says Johnny Ace is too stupid to be the Antichrist.
I gotta tell you, I did not hear that. Anyway, back to Ed Siegel. So we've seen Bad Bob. We've seen Bad Bob Owens. There's nothing wrong with Bad Bob Owens. He's a perfectly adequate job guy here. Ed Siegel. We would have had a better job with an actual Seagull in the ring rather than this man. Now, he was only in for like 30 seconds, and he tags in, he takes a hip toss. I'm like, okay, he took a hip toss. Like, it was fine. He sent Bobby Fulton off the ropes and claps his hands, and I don't know, Fulton just ran into him and took him down at that point. Then the finish. I don't know if Seagle tripped. I don't know if he just he thought the ropes were closer than they were, but Fulton leads him backwards into the ropes and he falls into them. It's like, oh boy, we're off to a rip-roaring start here. He shoots Seagle off the ropes. And then Tommy Rogers gives something that can generously be described as a power slam for the win. However, I'm fairly certain Ed Siegel thought that he was supposed to go for a small package. I don't know why he would think he'd have to go for a small package, but he hooked Tommy Rogers like he was going for a small package, and Tommy Rogers basically like, no, motherfucker, you're going for a power slam. One of Ed Siegel's feet never left the ground to tell you how great this power slam went. And yeah, that was that. And thankfully, Ed Siegel was smart enough to not kick out at 3.1.
I should never, ever have to write over 100 words to explain the finish of an enhancement match. I watched this like 3 times in slow motion, trying to figure out what the fuck happened here. Okay, Ed Seagle might have been drunk, or he may just be one of the most terribly uncoordinated people to ever step foot in a wrestling ring. And I say that as a very uncoordinated person.
I say that as a very uncoordinated person who stepped in a wrestling ring.
So first, Bobby Fulton whipped Seagle into the ropes. Seagle hit the ropes and almost collapses, and I don't know what happened. I don't know if his knees gave out. I don't know if he fucking tripped or like didn't hit the ropes right. He may have very well been fucking untrained and not hit the ropes right. But then he manages to run the ropes, and he's coming off toward Tommy Rogers. And what it looked like to me, and maybe the way you described it was what happened, what it looked like to me was that Tommy thought they were going to do something. And then I guess Ed Seagle maybe got scared of what he was like. It looked like they wanted to roll through, and Seagle got scared and pulled Rogers down on top of him, and Rogers was just done with it and pinned him. That was what it looked like to me.
Okay.
I hereby I hereby nominate Ed Seagle for the Hall of This Sucks.
You sure you don't want to wait till next week when they have a match with Ernie Ladd?
If we must.
Nah, that's okay. Ed Seagle, you are officially inducted into the Something Else Hall of This Sucks.
Maybe he'll be the first 2-time inductee.
For being the worst wrestler ever.
The worst wrestler of all time this week.
All right, so the Fantastics, fresh off their win, go and join Bill Watts at the announce desk because they got something to say.
Bobby Fulton, Tommy Rogers, welcome to Mid-South Wrestling.
Thank you very much. You know, we've heard a lot about Mid-South. The Fantastic Ones are here. There's a lot of action around here, and we're looking forward to that action. Ain't that right, Bobby? You know, Mr. Watts has a lot of tag teams with the Russians, Rock and Roll Express, all these great big guys around here. But let me tell you one thing, the Fantastic Ones are here, and we're here to take on all the competition here in the Mid-South, and we're looking forward to meeting all you great people out there.
Look at the fans. Look at the welcome the fans have given you.
That's right there.
They sure like it, and we're looking forward to it.
We love them. As long as them people are behind us, hey, we got everything in our corner.
All right, Jim, that's about all we have time for today. Take it up.
All right. This is at least better than in Smoky Mountain when Jackie Fulton would say they're looking forward to meeting all the pretty young ladies too.
Yeah. Not the Fantastics not known as promo guys.
No. And no, we're talking about no iteration of the Fantastics known as promo guys. But yeah, they're here to wrestle the Russians who aren't in the territory anymore. They're here to wrestle, all the great teams. All the great teams. No. They kept calling themselves the Fantastic Ones.
What was that? Okay, they debuted in Memphis, right? Did they? Surely.
I believe so. Yes.
Okay. Did the Fabulous Ones still exist in '84?
Maybe.
Because it's like they are so obviously like a knockoff of the Fabulous Ones. I don't know. Like it, Lane and Kern, like they couldn't have still been in Memphis as the Fabulous Ones, but I don't know. I need to actually look. Okay. It's just confusing because they are so clearly. Which okay, they ended up. I'm not even going to insult them because Bobby and Tommy ended up being a hell of a tag team. But yeah, they were designed to be the new Fabulous Ones.
By the way, this might be something to check out. October 6, 1984, episode of NWA Worldwide Wrestling, American Starship It was Dan Spivey and Scott Hall versus Gary Royal and Ed Seagle.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yes.
I have to look for that.
Oh Lord, that one could be an all-timer right there. I must tell you that.
Yeah.
All right, so that was Mid-South, and from here we jump over to World Class, also June 23rd, 1984. Let's go to the intro with Billiam Mercer.
Welcome to World Class Championship Wrestling from the world-famous Sportatorium in downtown Dallas, Texas. Hi, everybody. I'm Bill Mercer, and we have a tremendous main event on this World Class Championship Wrestling card. It features the Iceman King Parsons against and fighting the American Heavyweight Champion Gino Hernandez, and a magnificent tag team event. Kevin Von Erich and Chris Adams team up against Gordy and Garvin in a penalty box match. We'll have all that and more on World Class Championship Wrestling, but first, we have the missing link coming up right away on World Class Championship Wrestling.
Okay, so not quite the same show we see every week. We're going to have Iceman versus Gino Hernandez in the main event, and a magnificent tag team match. Gordy and Garvin versus Kevin and Chris in a penalty box match. The second ever penalty box match on this program.
I almost lost it during that match.
Oh, we'll get to it. It's still, it has its problems. We must say that.
It's probably not even that, but we'll talk about it.
Okay. Well, Max with General Skandor Akbar versus Pat Rose in our first devastating match. Max won with a diving headbutt.
Our first devastating event. I don't think Bill Mercer knows a lot about genetics, because at one point he was speculating about the causes of Max's unusual disposition, and he speculated that, and I quote, a few of the DNAs may have been displaced.
I did not catch that. By the way, speaking of Mercer, did he sound off this week? Like his audio, did it sound weird this week at all to you?
Not that I noticed. No, I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe. I was just sitting here trying to figure out if I could somehow invoke the zoom off rule, but Max put me out of my misery in 3 minutes. This was bad. And I don't blame Pat Rose for this being bad.
I mean, I don't know. Missing Link, I think, still is around for a while, but it's like it's a gimmick that it's really not something that can last in one territory for a while. Anyway, it's a lot.
He needs to be a short run. I'm sorry. Was he ever any good?
Not to the best of my knowledge.
Okay, I'm sure he's a nice guy.
Oh yeah. I think the only person who has anything bad to say about him is Heenan.
What did Heenan say about him?
So Heenan, I maybe not super bad, but I mean, when he was in the WWF, Heenan was his manager, and he asked Heenan one day, what time is your flight? And Heenan's like, well, 7 o'clock or whatever. It's like, okay, good. You can pick me up and take me to my flight at 5. And Heenan's like, well, why the hell would I do that? It's like, well, because I don't talk. So I need someone to take me to the airport and buy my ticket and all that other stuff. And Heenan's like, I'm your manager for 10 minutes a night. You talk the rest of the time. He's like, well, what about my hair and my piercings? He's like, it's New York City. You don't look any different than anyone else. So
yeah,
he does bounce around a bit because he's going to go from here to Florida to the WWF. He's going to spend some time. I'm sorry, Trey. He's going to spend some time in Mid-South. But let's see here. He's here.
He's going to be back in Mid-South?
Yeah, he's actually going to be. He's going to do some shots in Mid South later this year, but he's going to be back officially in '86.
Do you think he'll
But
acknowledge Max at all when he comes back?
I'm I'm going to bet no, but we'll see come October when he does a couple Mid South shots. But
We
Mhm.
we on the Something Else podcast will never dead name Max.
Nope. Except I kind of did earlier. But anyway, he's going to be here until the beginning of '85. Yeah.
Look, I'm a proponent of just watching enough stuff and different stuff. Most wrestlers, eventually, you're going to find something that they did that you like. Look, I've actually found like a period of Mr. Hughes that I kind of enjoy. I I don't know when this missing link run that's going to charm me is going to happen.
I don't think it happens. Anyway, speaking of things that I don't think is going to charm you, Michael Hayes has requested a formal review by
Oh
the
my God.
NWA over the recent six-man tag team title situation. Let's go to Bill Mercer, who's going to pitch it to Bill Mercer to talk about this situation as soon as I can get my clicker to work.
Of the fabulous Freebirds has requested an investigation by the NWA of the manner in which the six-man World Tag Team Championship was won at Texas Stadium. We take you now to the NWA headquarters.
We're outside the conference room where an NWA representative will judge the validity of the championship, the six-man World Tag Team Championship, won by the Von Erichs at Texas Stadium from the Freebirds. The Freebirds called this hearing, and they are now 30 minutes late. But let's follow them in and see what happened. Freebirds enter this conference room with the Von Erichs.
Fantasia has arrived on our day. My name, Michael Hayes. What's happening?
Sit down, please.
Check him out. Sit down.
Better sit down. Feet off of the table. And one more word out of you, and you'll never wrestle in Texas again. That last word just cost you $1,000. Now sit down and shut up.
Right, just sit down, Hayes.
Von Erichs?
He belongs in your chair.
Von Erichs, I'm going to tell you, just because you're the crowd favorites doesn't mean that that's going to have anything to do with the results of this meeting today.
Yeah, we didn't think so.
And I advise you to keep quiet too until called upon. Members of the press, Mr. Mercer and your camera crews, I'm sorry, this is going to be a closed meeting today. I'm going to have to ask you to leave. We will, after the meeting, give you the results.
All right. Thank you very much. We'll
Now,
have
this meeting
to
was called,
pull out of this meeting because it is a closed meeting. But we will, at this time, bring back to you the highlights of that controversial six-man World Tag Team Championship at Texas Stadium. The point that the Freebirds are making is that the wrong Von Erich was in the ring, made the tag on the Freebird. The wrong wrestler was in the ring. Now, the Von Erichs are contending that it was bad street rules and that anything goes. Well, here's the tape, and you can judge for yourself what the NWA representative is judging.
The NWA representative, the NWA judge. This man is on a fucking power trip.
Who the fuck is this guy?
He is what the hell did he eventually say his name was? Mr. Earl Wilburn.
He's what in the NWA?
He's apparently a judge.
I want to read the NWA Constitution. There is something irregular about this whole proceeding.
I think, it might come out later that, the Freebirds paid off this guy to come in and say that he was an NWA representative. We have never seen this man before, and I'm like, part of me is hoping we never see him again, and then part of me is like, oh my God, I hope we see this man again.
In my 92 WCW game, I'm so confused, and I needed just like the way shit worked out. I have Gordy, Hayes, Garvin, and Roberts as baby faces.
I think
Doesn't
you
make
might
any
have to
goddamn
turn
sense, does
a
it?
couple of them heels. Yeah.
Okay, Buddy only got brought in because I needed them for the 6-man title tournament, and Hayes got suspended. And then I don't know. He's just good at working matches, so I keep him around. But I don't know. I'm trying to figure out. Actually, the one thing that I'm actually annoyed that I wasn't able to do was get Doc, because he was under contract, written contract, All Japan, because I wanted to do the Miracle Violence connection. So I'm trying to figure out who I could do as a tag team with Gordy. What if I did Terry Bam Bam Gordy and Bam Bam Bigelow?
That could be interesting.
Yeah. Anyway.
And plus, you could break them up. You could break them up and beat ECW to the first time ever match between Bam Bam Bigelow and Terry Bam Bam Gordy.
Yeah.
By a few years.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so they chose to finish at the Texas Stadium match where Fritz, Mike, and David, yeah, that would have been something. Fritz, Mike, and Kevin win the 6-man tag team titles. And from here, because the principal kicked us out of the meeting, and thankfully the meeting only went 2.5 minutes, because we were back after the commercial break, and the NWA judge has made his ruling. Let's go to that now.
Outside the conference room for some time for the decision by the NWA judge on the outcome of the 6-man World Tag Team Championship. We've been notified that he has made the decision. As soon as the Von Erichs return to the conference room, if they come now, we'll follow them in and we'll get the decision of the NWA judge concerning the 6-man World Tag Team Championship.
Mr. Mercer and other members of the press, I have to tell you, I've reviewed all of the information that both sides of this controversy has presented to me, and it was very tough to make sure it was absolutely accurate. I viewed all the videotapes because I didn't want to take any chances with anyone presenting me with false information. And my decision has come down to this. After reviewing everything, this was an anything goes match. And that means just exactly that, anything goes. But anything goes has to be construed within a legal framework, which means very simply that within a legal framework, an illegal Von Erich pinned a legal Freebird, which means that the match has been null and voided.
Man, I knew it, baby! Champions again!
No, you are not champions. I voided the match, but there is no championship. Now, I understand that you fellas have already signed for another match.
Yeah.
Now, at that match, the winner of that match will be the world champion.
Oh, that'd be us. Fair enough.
Is that all clear?
Yeah, that's clear. Okay.
Meeting's adjourned.
You know, I told you guys were too stupid anyway.
Oh, shut up.
Hey, Carrot
We have a problem. The NWA judge, Mr. Earl Wilburn, has been gracious enough to meet with us after this fracas, this aftermath of his decision, and recap now just exactly what your decision was, Mr. Wilburn.
Well, first of all, I want to say this, Bill, is that all of these people are going to be very sad when they get the news about the extremely large fine they're going to receive for what damage they have done to this room. Now, as far as the decision was concerned, I had based that, as you know, as I told you before, on the tapes and on what the individuals had to say about this match. And it was true. We had an illegal Von Erich in the ring, and he pinned a legal Freebird, well, this could not be under our rules and regulations. So therefore, what we're going to do is have this actually, it's not a rematch, it is a match that is scheduled for the World Championship. My recommendation is going to be this, that all 6 people are in the ring at the same time, so that whomever loses, is pinned first, loses.
And that determines the championship of the 6-man tag team.
And that will determine the championship of the 6-man tag team. Now, these 2 teams are the 2 finest teams in the country. There's no doubt about that. And they're 2 of the youngest teams, as you could see from what occurred here today. Now, these are very strong, very powerful, very fine wrestlers, and it's going to be a very exciting match. I just regret that I have to find them like this, but what else can you do under the circumstances?
Thank you, Mr. Wilburn. Mr. Earl Wilburn, the NWA judge who made the decision, and there will be a championship, and all 6 of those wrestlers will be in the ring if they follow his recommendation. That's our report on world-class championship wrestling. We'll be back.
Okay. Tell me, Trey, what was worse this week? Was Ed Seagle worse at wrestling, or was our NWA judge, Mr. Earl Wilburn, bad at everything he did on this show?
I want to induct Earl Wilburn into the Hall of You Suck. Not this sucks, just you suck, because you seem like an asshole. Why do they keep doing this bullshit with the 6-man titles? Like, do they really need to keep putting the belts back on the Freebirds without beating Von Erich? Because this is the 2nd time that this has happened in a year. You can't beat Mike. And look, I'm not even blaming Ken Mantell for this one, because I'm sure that this was straight from Fritz, that you do not beat the boys. But there's a reason that this territory is all downhill from here.
To be fair, the belts are not on the Freebirds, even though they should be, because even though they null and void at the finish of the match at Texas Stadium, that should mean that the belts revert back to the Freebirds. But according to Mr. Wilburn, no. Mr. Wilburn has said that no, that means that the titles are vacated and held up, which makes absolutely no sense.
Okay. This is so stupid.
I agree. I can see where they were trying to go here. They wanted to make it sound more official. You know, if the Freebirds filed a protest and like it was being heard by Fritz or something, it's like, okay, that's whatever. They had to bring in some guy in a nice suit to basically make this ruling. But yeah, it was ridiculous. This guy was bad at this shit. And it's not even like so bad it's good, like with Jack Tunney when, he would be on WWF television. This was just bad. And obviously it was pre-taped. They did not have to air this.
As someone who, like, one of my favorite things about wrestling is the art of booking and learning about booking and fantasy booking and wishing that I could be a booker. This is the laziest fucking booking that you... And so much of this old territory booking that was supposed to be so great, some of it is great, but some of this is just stupid, low-effort bullshit to fucking backtrack on finishes instead of booking something to get where you want to. This sucks. This sucks. I don't like this show.
We may not make it until September when we get rid of the Freebirds.
We haven't even gotten to the tag match yet.
Oh, that's next. And I don't want to stand in your way on this one. Terry Gordy and Jimmy Garvin with Precious versus Chris Adams and Kevin Von Erich in a penalty box match. So basically what the rules are is if you violate one of the rules, you get put into the penalty box. And the first time you go in for 1 minute, and then you get each successive time it increases by a minute. So if you get penalized 10 times, you're going in there for 10 minutes. Now I'll say my issue with this is that what what makes a penalty box match work is when the odds are so obscenely lopsided, and you don't really get that in just a standard tag match because the most you're going to do is 2-on-1 because at no point are both members of a team going to be in the penalty box. Like a 6-man tag is like the perfect amount of people for a penalty box match because you can work that and get down to 3-on-1 or 2-on-1, even 1-on-1, and it's like, kind of neat. It's like this they're still working out the kinks of this match. Let's just say that. And Trey, you want to go off on this one?
Okay, so like it's a mildly interesting gimmick, but who the fuck could possibly care about Garvin versus Adams number 329 or Gordy versus Kevin number 1293? I laughed when they put Precious in the penalty box. That was a good spot. And I laughed when Stella Mae French came out and started going after Garvin in the penalty gauge. But it's like, okay, Arya, I watch every New Japan show possible. Okay, you understand what I'm saying?
I do.
I am sick of the sameness of these matches.
And I asked this the last time they did one of these, and I forget if you were here when they did it, but is this a no disqualification match?
Well, it seems so.
I mean, otherwise, like, why wouldn't you be disqualified for breaking the rules? Because that's what's supposed to happen.
See, I think the idea is that anytime you commit a disqualifiable offense, that is when you go to the penalty box.
But even that's not entirely the case because, like, Kevin Von Erich ran in to prevent a 2-on-1 on his partner, and that was violating the rules, so he got sent to the penalty box. It's like, okay.
It is sometimes. This is a what did they call it? That they did the opposite of like a relaxed rules thing where it was like a overly observed rules. This is that.
Enforcement of the rules
yes,
match.
Yeah.
Between Matt Striker and Balls Mahoney at December to Dismember.
Yeah. This was that. Like, you're right. This is like the germ of a good idea executed badly.
But I'll tell you this though, the fans were really into this, so I'll give them that. I did question Precious being put in the box. I mean, it was cute, it was funny, but it's like she's not a member of the match. How can she be put in the box?
Okay,
plus, and this is obviously never going to be explained. But what happens if both members of a team were put in the box at the same time? Are they going to lose by count out? Because, well,
they would be counted out. Yes, they'd be counted out. Look, if she is at ringside, she is a licensed manager and therefore is a legal person at ringside and is eligible to be put in the penalty box as far as I am concerned.
So why didn't they put Stella Mae French in the penalty box?
Because she doesn't have a manager's license. She was just out there to go after Jimmy Garvin.
So the best spot on both shows we talked about this week is coming from World Class because Jimmy Garvin is in the penalty box. And of course, he's ready to get out, but Stella Mae comes running down and Jimmy Garvin is fighting for his life to stay in the penalty box with the door closed. But not only Stella Mae, but also that biased-ass David Manning Von Erich basically yanked the door open, and Stella Mae went in and beat his ass.
This was absolutely the highlight of the match.
The police yanked her away, and then Stella distracted the referee while Garvin slammed Adams' head off a chair for the win while Kevin was in the cage. Gordy yelled at Stella Mae after the match, and I was like, part of me really would want to see that for Stella Mae to go after Terry Gordy, but she was smart enough to not go after Gordy.
That sounds pretty beast, actually.
Oh Lord! So yeah, we're able to find something good out of a bad match.
It wasn't a bad match. It's just the same goddamn match again and again and again.
Well, American champion Gino Hernandez was out for the main event. And by the way, he is your champion. And he took on Iceman Parsons. We are told that Gino's father is a former professional wrestler. See, I thought his father only promoted wrestling. I didn't know his father was a wrestler.
Good joke. I understood the joke. I may be the only person who does.
Oh, I doubt that. I think everyone knows that. The Paul
Okay.
Bosch is Gino's father thing.
Yeah.
Mercer did remind us last week that Iceman unmasked the Super Ds, revealing them to be Bill Irwin and Henry O. Godwin Irwin. There we go. I popped you for real that time. Gino went up top for school, but Iceman let him go, and Gino crotched himself on the top rope. And Gino, you've never seen anyone sell getting crotched on the top rope so much in your life, because Gino's just running around the ring holding his crotch and his butt, and just tremendous entertainment here by the American heavyweight champion.
Gino is the ideal opponent for Iceman, because Iceman is best when he is with a heel who can sell like a motherfucker, and Gino was awesome.
Yes, he was. The match was going aight, and then Bill Irwin ran in with his whip and his Akbar as well for the disqualification, and eventually Chris Adams made the save. Gino laughed at them before spitting at the man that came to the ring with Adams, and then he left. I enjoyed this match. It's not going to be a match we remember in 2 weeks unless they replay it in the opening segment. But I thought it was a fun little match.
Yeah, this was good. The thing after the match, it was like I had the thought of like, okay, it was a cool pro wrestling angle, and it was not portrayed in this way at all. But if this angle happened today, people would make it like a racial thing.
Yes. Even though, like, hey, Bill Irwin has a whip, and Iceman Parsons took his mask off last week.
Yeah. This was a guy who likes to whip people attacking a guy who did something to him last week that he's mad about. This is what this was.
And so we find out that Bronco Lubick has recommended to the board that Bill Irwin be fined heavily. Why is Bronco allowed to make these recommendations exactly?
It's world class. Who the fuck is allowed to do anything? Drunk Mark Lawrence is like the secret controller of everything, and he's drunk. So everybody can do whatever they want. It doesn't matter.
I think if they find Bill Irwin should request a formal review by Mr. Earl Wilburn.
I think that he would be entitled to that. By the way, what the fuck happened to Scott? What happened to Scott Henry O. Godwin Irwin?
He just wasn't here this week.
Did the O stand for anything?
They never said.
That could be like Scott Henry or Orville Godwin Irwin.
I mean, what did Phineas's I stand for?
Ignatius. I just made that up,
There you
but
go.
it should be Ignatius.
I can't picture anything else. They also didn't have any. Henry and Phineas Godwin did not have anything else they could do in their lives when their parents gave them initials after Pig and Hog.
Yeah, that those pig farmers way up there in Biggers, Arkansas. There's no accounting for their habits.
It was Bitters, Arkansas.
I think it's Biggers. It does sound like Bitters, but I looked it up. I think I looked it up, and it is like there is actually a Biggers, Arkansas, and there's not a Biggers, Arkansas. Or there is a Biggers, not a Bitters.
Well, it's like how Tito Santana. There's no such place as Tacula, Mexico, but there is Toluca, Mexico. And somebody got that wrong decades ago, and nobody ever bothered to fix it.
A hologram on AEW. He's from a city in Mexico called Teotihuacan, and all I can think of is that there's a really good Mexican restaurant here in Houston named Teotihuacan.
And that's where Hologram is really from.
It's I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that the food of his native city is delicious.
Oh, Lord. Before we get canceled, we might as well end this show now. That was world class,
Yeah,
by the way.
it
A show
was.
that we
It sure
found
was.
more entertainment with than it deserved.
I was just
Uh,
entertained by how angry I got at parts of it. So I guess that's better than usual.
it's better than our usual 30-second world class review.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
Lord.
that's fair.
Um, so before we wrap things up, anything else you want to plug? Anything else you want to talk about?
Uh, there's no new Oh My Godcast this week. Maybe next week. Go check that out at ohmygodcast.com. My kitten, Astro Peach, is an adorable little guy. He, on about day 3, he decided that he was ready to be in the rest of the house. So, he has become a part of the system. The 3 elder lady cats are what am I talking? I'm just talking about my cat. I'm plugging my cat. Get a cat because cats are great, and my new kitten is adorable, and I'm gonna go pet him now. So let's finish the
Yeah,
podcast.
when you said that he wanted to be part of the system, I thought you were going to talk about how he's now with Moose and Brian Myers and Eddie and Alicia Edwards.
Okay, that might actually get Moose over if he had Astro Peach on his shoulder while he was cutting a promo.
But by the way, I know you haven't yet watched the next ECW show up to the 90-minute episode.
Correct.
There, I, I hope I'm not overselling this. There is a segment on that show. I can't wait to hear your reaction to it.
All right.
Oh
Well,
my God.
uh,
It is. Believe me, when you see it, you will not question that this is what I'm talking about.
oh, I'm sure. I'm sure.
Oh, I'm giggling just thinking about it. All right, so that's gonna do it for this week's show. Go listen to the Oh My God cast. Go watch the episode of ECW after the 90-minute episode in January '94, so you sitting at home can know what I'm talking about before Trey does. But that's gonna do it for this week's episode. Thank you all for listening, and we'll talk to you again in 7 days.
Bye.